What's up, All-Inners, and welcome to another episode of the All-In Podcast, a podcast for casual leaguers. I'm the League Dad, and as always, I'm joined by the fellas, Mitchell, Alistair, Kevin, and we are finished with the second round robin of group stages. It's all set, and hey, we did it, y'all. We did it.
Woo!
Nah, psych. If you were an NA fan and that's the first thing you heard, I apologize because I'm totally trolling you. We did, as always, not make it out of groups again. We kind of expected that after seeing last week's performances.
We did, I guess.
But, okay, so what's a bigger surprise for you guys? TSM going 0-6, not winning one game, or the surprising uptick from TL and maybe FlyQuest? I think FlyQuest maybe for me is a little more of a surprise, but Team Liquid also ended up 3-3. Almost, you know, if things went a little different, could have gotten out or had a chance to go out. But TL and FlyQuest, what's a bigger surprise for you guys?
0-6.
Yeah.
That's actually depressing.
I mean, I am depressed. I'm a TSM fan. I don't know why I'm still a fan, honestly.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the first time they broke a world record. It's the first time a first seed has ever not won a single game from groups. It's the first time any major region has not won. Like, the only other time that happened was, I think, LMS did it once, and of course wildcard regions do it all the time.
Of course.
But like,
LMS has never done it for their whatchamacallit, their first seed. So
yeah, it was never the first seed. Yeah.
But we had it last year with Clutch. They went 0-6.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, that's right.
No
Were
one
they-
remembers Clutch because it was our it's Clutch. But
They're the third seed.
Yeah, they
so,
were third
yeah.
seed. I don't think it's
so
it's
and their
first
group.
seed. Yeah.
their group was understandably doomed for them specifically.
Yeah. And their group was much harder than TSM's group. Like, TSM was in the group with all three middle of the pack teams. I mean, LGD wasn't even really a good team if you like think about it. Like, they struggled in plans. They started 2-1 and then they actually looked really bad in their second week. So
Yeah. Again, I think we'll start there because, you know, I am really upset. You know, obviously you guys know, everyone, you guys, I don't make it a secret that I am a TSM fan, but gosh, where do I start? Like, I can't tell you how much I was yelling at my freaking phone or computer, whatever I was watching the games on. Like, they just looked a hot mess. Honestly, Bjergsen, Double Lift, like, I don't even know where the silver lining is. Like, I'm trying to be like, okay, like, let's take away something here. No, like, everything looked just bad. They had no cohesion. It seemed like games that they were even kind of doing okay in the beginning, I still had the feeling that they just weren't going to be able to sustain that and keep that going and end up pulling out a win. But, I mean, I don't want to start off the blame with the coaching staff, but it just, after this amount of time, you got to look at the constants, right? So Bjergsen, okay, he's a constant, so I'm not deflecting blame from him. Double Lift has never gotten out of groups. Parth has been there forever. I mean, at some point, you got to look at what's been the same, and it's time to make a change. Let me get your thoughts on that, because that's where I'm going to right in the beginning. The constants.
I mean, I'll go first.
I mean, I
because,
feel like with...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, quickly, because this is just a point I've been harping forever. Bjergsen has been on this team forever. He's an amazing player on TSM, but like domestically. But like, you've gotta keep watching him never show up, and tell me what if you want to win worlds. What do we do with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You either need him to stop being the team captain so he can play the way he wants to play and just hyper carry, or like, you need to build a different team, because it doesn't make sense that he's basically simping for the rest of his team when he's the best player. Like, it doesn't work that way. He can win games on Zillion and domestically, but like, I watched Shie solo kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Shie is like 6th, 7th best mid laner in China. Maybe on a good day he's 4th.
Yeah.
That is unacceptably bad. Like, what the heck am I watching? And then to appeal to that, or to append onto that, like, you also have Double, who's great domestically, but this year not so much. And then internationally, he was still like anyone who watched that Baron play, anyone who had many of the plays, but that Baron play where he walked around all of Baron, he did chickens to heal up on Aphelios. Then he walked all the way around Baron pit because he wasted too much time on chickens. And Spica died at 100 health with Baron up, and everyone ditched him and double died anyways with flash up. And he used it for no reason. It was the worst series. Like, we would have flamed any NA player for doing that. But because it's double, like, we pointed out the 5-man sleep, which is something else to talk about. But anyways, before Mitchell talks, Spica was at least a bright spot for that team. They can you literally could sack that team and rebuild around Spica and maybe Broken Blade, and you might have a squad. I don't know. Because I think the Bjergsen will get you more titles domestically, but like, how many years do we need to give TSM without results before we say like too much, right?
Yeah.
They've never gone out of groups when it didn't involve someone making racist slurs in 2014 and getting their team out. So it was just NA.
Yeah. I mean, I all of those points are true. Mitchell, let me hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought Alistair was going to talk
I'm sorry.
next.
Alistair, go ahead.
All right. Well, I mean, one big mistake I think they made was why did they never sub in treats? Was one
That's true.
big question I have. I don't know
Bio looked horrible.
why they wouldn't change. Yeah. Well, I'll say this again. I feel like they need to. I feel like they need to put a minimum amount of like games that their team needs to play, because there's no reason for Double Lift to be not playing Super Server solo queue.
Yeah.
I feel like that was definitely a big.
Like, what is that? That's either arrogance or laziness. One or the other. Yeah. That's unacceptable.
Solo queue in NA, and he doesn't play at Super Server.
It's both of them.
And I think that, yeah.
It's Double Lift and
on top of that,
Bifrost.
I mean, Mitchell and I were talking about this. We think just NA needs to be purged with a bunch of these like old guard, because it's just going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty crazy, but the worst two players on TSM were Bjergsen, Double Lift, and Bifrost, the veterans of the team.
Yeah.
Arguably, Double Lift was probably the worst player. I like to think back to the LGD game where he was on Ezreal. He got hooked, level 1, burned flash.
Oh, gosh.
Got hooked again, died, he's still level 1. And he just lost the game by himself.
Yeah. Well, and then they had to commit resources. They had to commit resources to try to get him back in the game, which I don't know why. And they flubbed that up, and he wasn't able to carry.
He just played really, really terribly the entire year. Honestly,
one thing that really annoys me is seeing even the other NA teams with Liquid and FlyQuest. At least in some of their games, they had a clear game plan, right? It seemed like every game that Team Liquid or FlyQuest had a level 1 invade, they had something planned, and it was obvious, like from the get-go, and then they executed, or they were going to try their best to execute that specific game plan for that. I felt like TSM didn't have any kind of game plan at all, ever. Like, it just seemed like, I don't know. It just felt like they were just kind of playing autopilot and trying to, get objectives and just kind of not mess up. And again, that's the TSM that we hate, because it's like, why are you even playing? You can't just play reactive. But you bring up a good point, and I do want to mention this because I've seen it all over Reddit as well. But you mentioned Bjergsen, Double Lift, even Bio. These are all veterans, specifically Bjergsen and Double Lift. These are like, household names. They're the ones that bring in the draw domestically, I guess. And so you could see why people are still, why orgs want to hire them still, because they bring in the fans and the money. But at this point, I think it's safe to say that our rookies are the ones that are hungry, that are playing. We talked about Spica, but also Tactical, right? And so I think you're right. Like, it might be time to stop overpaying even these well-known names of veterans who are over the bridge, like over the hump. They're no longer that good, and we need to start investing in this new talent. We say this every year, but let me get your thoughts on that particular point, or anything you want to share regarding what NA needs to do from here, because this is a discussion that comes up every year, because every year we get disappointed at Worlds. So, let me hear your thoughts on that.
I think the really clear thing was that this year we tried out a lot more rookies in starting positions, and they performed exceptionally well. Like Tactical, Johnson, Spica were really big highlights throughout the entire season for NA. And it's going to be like, if you want to take these risks on new players, you're going to have to, you have to make some sacrifices, take some risks. Like Bjergsen, Doublelift, let's say you get rid of Bjergsen, Doublelift, and they're just not in the league. You're probably going to have a couple bad years. You're probably going to have maybe another year or two where you just 0 teams out of groups again. But you got to look long term, because it's like you need to give Tactical experience on stage. You need to give all these players that have never been to Worlds or it's their first year as rookies time on stage, because you kind of see Mad Lions and it's like, they didn't get out of play-ins and this really sucks, but it's only 4 rookies that all started just this year. Yeah. And did they do worse than TSM? No, they actually won games at Worlds. So you could argue that if TSM, or a team with four veterans, 3 veterans and Broken Blade, and then 1 rookie, they could have dropped out of plans too. If they were on the LGD side, they probably would have not gotten first at least, right? Yeah. So it's like, you're going to have to take these risks. You're going to have to send rookies who are maybe going to drop out and not rise to the occasion. But it's looking in the future, 3 years in advance maybe, and being like, give these rookies experience, because if we just keep sending Bjergsen and Doublelift over and over again, they're just not going to get out of groups.
The routine is old. I think it's like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 1,000 times, like, we're idiots. We keep falling for it. And, if you heard us before, we're NA hopefuls as always, but gosh, we need to just stop hoping and actually start making changes, because it's shameful. Like, it sucks. Like, NA is a joke internationally. So what about you guys? What were your thoughts?
So the thing is, like, I wouldn't even say NA is a joke internationally. It's honestly just a few players on some key teams. Like, for example, Double is still very good now domestically to some extent. Like, there aren't that many players. There's Johnson, there's Tactical.
FBI?
No, like in the role. FBI for sure.
FBI.
And then, I'm just saying, like, if you had to pick from people you have available, both in Academy as well as internationally, that you could realistically pick up, right? Like, there aren't that many players. And then even more so for Bjergsen. Like, there is no replacement for Bjergsen that is available right now that I can think of, right? So, like
right now, but the idea is to find a name that you've never heard before, ever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean
that's
like,
happening
like
in
how
Korea.
they got the Shy and stuff? Where the
that's
Shy
happening.
Was literally
Korea LPL. They just find random people in solo queue that have never played professionally.
Yeah,
give them a chance. They actually win Worlds next year. That happened multiple times in the LPL.
That's fair. Okay,
and I mean,
I could see that.
You're right, but if we keep letting Bjergsen just be, and they could win domestically. I mean, that feels okay, but it always comes back to this, which this is the stomping ground. This is what we wait for the entire year, and it just sucks to see, again, our veterans just, they're not able to do anything. It's time to stop letting them take the stage time when it could go to a no-name rookie who's just a young kid who's kind of just learning and maturing, and move Bjergsen to positional coach, move Doublelift to positional coach. You know what I mean? Like those are things that I think can really, if they really want to help NA, that's how they could best do it. Like, I just don't think they're at the level of dedication, because being a player does take a lot of time and energy, and where they're at in life, they just might not be there. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, hey, look, know when your time is due, and then move on. Reggie did the exact thing. Reginald did the exact same thing. He realized, look, I'm not that good of a mid laner anymore, but he recognized talent in Bjergsen and brought him over. It was a big risk. Everybody's like, who is this guy? And he was a big payoff for us. So I think it's maybe time to do that again. I mean, it's been a long time since we've had a new mid laner in TSM, and I love Bjergsen. So
also, to finish that shot, NA is not that bad, honestly. We had 2 teams go 3-3. Do not conflate NA with TSM. Liquid literally went 1-1-1 against every team in the group, 2 of which are G2 and Suning.
But Kevin, I agree with that sentiment, but we've been that, like, how long now? Like 3-3 on the cusp, barely didn't make it out of groups. We've said that every year. I want to get to a point where we're like, one team is reliably at least going out of groups. Like, we're always at the point where we just barely didn't make it. We're so close. It'll be better next year. We say that every year, do we not? Like, and that's what I'm trying to get at. And I mean, I'm not saying like Team Liquid, you're right, Team Liquid and FlyQuest, they showed really good signs, but it's a long time from now for them to like carry that momentum. Things are going to change, right? Again. And so again, but go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to kind of put a caveat on that, but
I agree. What I want to like bring up as just an idea, food for thought, is that is it really a question of, at least for those two teams, do you think it's a question of these teams and their like players at that point, or is it like a mentality thing? Like, unironically, NA has a huge buff the second they get, it doesn't matter, or it barely matters. Like, we're like, oh, we're 90%, 95% out of this. Okay, sicko mode. No one is safe. Even TSM almost got that buff against Gen G of all teams. Like, in that group, Gen G should have smacked them. And TSM looked like a real team until they managed to blow a lead with like a 7-1 Lucian and a 5-minute Seiko. Like, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And there's no way you're telling me that's just because our player skill isn't good enough. It's because NA mentality, NA like ability to handle pressure, and our culture. Like, it's and that, like, at that point you might as well just make a team of imports, because like I don't know how you fix NA culture. Like, this just always happens. We always tilt. We haven't won a single tiebreaker ever to get out of groups, or maybe once. I like legitimately can't remember the last time. It's like 0-5, 0-6. We didn't get tiebreakers this year, but if Liquid went 4-2, beat Machi in week 1, they still would have probably lost the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I don't know if it fixes just because we get better players. We can raise our talent, but our talent still was raised in NA.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's absolutely right. And to your point, Mark, I believe I don't know if it was Hotline League or somewhere, but he he summed up NA and this culture and this play style in one play, and it was from TSM, where they did a 5-man bot dive. Do you guys remember? Do you guys happen to see that? One kill, and they both like use their summoners. Like, many of them use their summoners defensively. Where when he was looking at it, he was like, "That's easily like 2 more kills right there, chasing off and turret plates." But instead, you see their mindset where they get the 1 kill and they just get out. It's like they settle for, okay, we get this, now let's just get out. Or if we get a little lead, okay, now let's just play safe, and we don't want to lose this little bit of lead or advantage that we have. Whereas when you see, you know, all the other teams, like both LPL, LCK, you know, even LEC, like when they get a small advantage, they're looking to attack it. Like they gank top lane, got flash, they're going again. They got top turret, they're going to keep going to that top turret, knock it down, keep knocking down turret number 2. Like, they're attacking a weak spot, and they're playing to that side of the map, and you could see their game plan kind of going along with the flow of the game. Whereas again, it looks like North American teams, specifically in this example, TSM, looks like they get a small advantage, and then they're like, okay, we're good. We got the lead. Now let's just play it safe. Let's just kind of wait. And again, I think what Mark was getting at is that is NA's mentality, man. Like, and it's not, what is it, because they're scared to get flamed if they do something, or what? Because like you said, if we don't give a fart, they're going in and they're making these sicko plays, like doing like next level strats, and we're like, all right, like why couldn't you do that before? Like, can they just like, you know, change the mentality? And I agree with you, Kevin, there, that maybe something needs to change.
I think I'm gonna disagree a little bit with you. I think that's just a TSM thing.
Okay.
Like, I think it's just a TSM thing.
Yeah, okay.
Because, like, when I looked at Team Liquid's games, they were playing games that mattered. They were not eliminated in all the games that they played, technically, yet, right? They had to wait until G2 shooting at the end. Yep. So they were playing high-pressure games, and they would get an advantage, and they would snowball like crazy. Their one win against G2 and Suning and Machi, they got a level 1 lead and snowballed like freaking crazy.
Agreed.
So, I mean, no, they didn't just hold on to their lead. They expanded it massively. And then FlyQuest in their game against top esports. Honestly, FlyQuest, I felt like in most of their games, they were always trying to find advantages. They just kept getting mechanically outplayed.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just a DSM thing, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, you're true. You're right about TL and FlyQuest doing that. But that was round, like, again, why didn't we see that in round 1 is what I'm trying to get at. Like,
well, I think we did.
You think so?
Team Liquid, no. In the first
Okay.
week, Team Liquid against Machi and Suning,
Yeah, I
they
didn't
just
think
kind of
they
got
did.
roles
That's
and
right.
AFK'd.
Yeah.
In every FlyQuest game, from what I saw, they were trying to get advantages.
True.
They just got
I mean,
outplayed and
Solo
outnumbered.
himself was really trying to get it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
you see him like beating his head into the wall, dying over and over again. No, I agree. I think you're right with that with FlyQuest. So yeah, absolutely.
So I do. So I think like to tie in both of your guys' points, where you're saying that we don't go for these proactive plays to extend our advantage. I agree with that with TSM. And with the quality of players, maybe I disagree, because I think if we had higher quality players, we have the right mindset to expand our leads in the games that TL won and most of the FlyQuest games. It was just that our players sucked. We go for an aggressive play where we actually get. I remember there was a FlyQuest game against DRX. They got first blood in the bot lane, and they fell behind like 1,000 gold.
Yeah.
Because their mid and top were both being pushed because they saw the enemy jungler. Oh, Santorin is bot lane. We're going to play super aggressively, and we can actually outlane our opponents.
Yeah.
And we saw, Solo get solo killed. We saw, actually Santorin get jungle gamped. We saw Wild Turtle fall behind a crap ton of CS to death on Caitlyn. Yeah. So I do think it's about the quality of players. Bjergsen got outlaned every single game.
Now that's the thing, though. You say quality of players, but here's the problem with NA is when we try to source quality of players, we import, but we import players that for the most part are kind of past their prime. And NA, I don't know if this is still true, but I know a statistic they took last time was that we have the oldest average age. And that's imports and domestic. Again, we talk about Double Lift and Bjergsen, some of the oldest players on Xmithy, I think is super old. As much as I love them, it is like esports is a game for young guys. I'm just gonna say it, their mechanics, their hunger, even it's the same with any sport, right? The younger guys, there's a fine line between just raw talent and a little bit of that experience to get them to that championship level. But at a certain point, they get past that prime, and now they're just on the decline. And now what gives them an advantage, if anything, is more of the knowledge part. They might not have the physical part of it down, but they have the knowledge, and that's why I kind of referred to possibly some of these veterans moving on to like a positional coach, helping younger players in these positions get good, learn some of the macro stuff, and let them kind of carry the mechanics and the actual doing of the games. But one more thing I wanted to talk about this, and then we'll move on, is NA is considered a major region. There were talks that maybe NA shouldn't even be considered a major region because of how sucky we are, and I'm just quoting. I'm just quoting from Reddit. Yeah, and so let me go ahead, Mitchell. Let me. You don't think so?
Oh yeah, I don't think we deserve a pool 1 seed. That's just ridiculous. We don't.
Right.
I mean, look at TSM. They got probably the easiest group. They've Double Lift has actually had really hard groups his entire career. Mm-hmm. He's gotten 3-3. This might have been his easiest group ever, and he went 0-6. Yeah. So we're declining. I don't think we deserve a pool 1 seed. Our first seed never gets out. Our first seed actually does better, too. Yeah. Our first seed always gets 3-3.
Yeah.
We won 0-6. Yeah, I don't think we deserve one. I wouldn't be surprised if Riot announced in February next year, that we don't get a pool 1 seed anymore.
I wouldn't disagree. Kevin, you're making a face. What's that face
about? We're not going to lose our first seed, not because we're good enough for it, but because it would be an incredibly bad decision for NA League of Legends. The fact of the matter is, this is a North American. This game was made by a North American company.
Well, we'll still. I'm not saying we're going to lose our first seed. We're going to lose our pool 1 seed. So our first seed will get slotted into pool 2.
Right. That's what I mean. Our pool 1, our status as a major region is basically secured just by the sheer fact that our team is our company. The company that makes the game is American.
In the US.
And even though we don't have the best players and whatever. There's so much money in North American League of Legends esports, and also so much another externalities. So much of the talent that goes to League of Legends Riot Games for League of Legends is because they grew up watching the game, thinking oh shit, this is so cool. If League esports gets downgraded and put to secondary status just of pure merit, then that's a huge hit to their talent pool. That's a huge hit to their appeal in North America. Like, yes, China's always going to be able to carry League of Legends for like 10 more years if it died in the States. But that's a huge problem for the base company where the game comes from. If people don't grow up like watching esports events and be like, oh, North America still matters. Like, the facade that we matters will exist as long as we keep at least
as long as idiot fans like us still have hope.
I mean, but think about it. There are like literal fan bases, like the Chicago Cubs or whatever.
Sure.
I think it's the Cubs, who have literally cheered for teams for like decades, literally generations, without watching their team do jack shit.
Shoot, any Cleveland team, you Toronto Maple Leafs in Canada,
right?
any
and the point is, like, they grow on you. The longer that tradition builds up. Like TSM, I don't like TSM that much. It's not a secret, but I still cheer for them at Worlds. I stayed up that night and I watched those last 3 games. Like, hey, maybe we have a. And like, why would I do that if we were a second tier region who's like basically LMS or PCS they call it now, right? Like, why would I care? I'm like, we were doomed from the start. At least having a first seed team, if the World seeding format was better, would give us a chance.
Yeah.
I think they were going to change the format, but because this year was Corona, they were like shorten the timing between games, which also hurt NA, and then they just kept the same format because they're like, if we're going to do anything big, let's do it next year when it's the live event, when it's a real event, when we can really like show off. I bet you that Riot Games really wants to do a giant decade celebration, and they just couldn't.
They couldn't. Sad.
Makes sense.
But what if League Dad is like 80 years old and he's a TSM fan and they still haven't gotten that groups? He's just
it becomes a tradition at that point.
At that point, I'm just gonna. I hope not by that point, but earlier, I will have realized that it's hopeless to be a TSM fan, and maybe by that time, who knows? Maybe I'm a Liquid fan by that point. I don't know.
You're welcome there.
Hey, but look, even though I knew like TSM was just garbo. I was still voting, of course, any NA team. I'm cheering for Liquid. I'm cheering for FlyQuest because at this point, I just want one of us to get there. I don't care who it is, really. And even now, like I'm still rooting for like LEC. They're like our closest relatives, so to speak. And NA and LAC.
G2 is dead to me. G2 is actually dead to me. Can't believe they lost.
Yeah.
The one game they needed to win. The one game.
It was such a pathetic loss.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
They actually got smashed so hard that. You're right, actually.
Yeah.
They looked worse than INTZ.
Yeah,
they looked pretty bad.
Really bad. They looked worse than my Gold Clash teams, guys. It was really bad.
They actually looked like they were inting the game to screw Team Liquid over. It actually looked that bad.
Yeah, but then you saw the tiebreaker.
They played tiebreaker. They weren't. I would have said possibly they were inting if they won that tiebreaker. But they lost because I was gonna shout conspiracy theory like we like to do in America. That was a hoax.
Then you see the tiebreaker and you're like, oh, okay, they're actually that bad.
They're actually that bad.
And then you see the group draw and they get Gen G and you're like, it was all rigged. It's all planned.
Baby.
Are you kidding me? They get Gen G?
Yeah.
Literally the one team that they wanted to get. Like, they could have gotten Danwon. They could have gotten Suning. Oh, they can't get Suning. They could have gotten Top, though, or Danwon, and they get Gen G. Are you kidding me?
That's actually really good. Yeah, for sure. Well, we talked about this before. So let's talk a little bit, Mitchell. I know we wanted to talk about the format, the World's format, because I know there was some talk about some of these games, like, at a certain point, they don't matter anymore. You can't make it out, or it's kind of set in stone where everybody says. So now you got some games that are kind of pointless, and so people were talking about possible format changes. So I wanted to get your thoughts on, what do you guys think of the format now? What could they possibly do? Like, personally, I want to see a lot more games. I want to see also teams play teams outside of just their groups, honestly, because I wait for this once a year, even if it's just one game, please. I want to see Bjergsen get stomped by all the teams, not just 3.
Yeah, so the big problem that happened this year especially was you would get past the first or second game of the day, and then the group is decided, especially in week 2.
Yeah.
So what happened in Group B was Rogue lost their first game, and then PSG lost the second game, and then the group was decided, right? It was like, okay, it was going to be a tiebreaker for first or second, but 3 of the games didn't matter after that. That's really bad for viewership, I feel like. It's bad for competitiveness. Like, we saw some very low-quality games from Rogue after that. We saw them emoting and inting and just doing nothing. It's like, this is Worlds, right? We don't want that. It's not like a regular season game. We saw in Group C, TSM lost their first game. Immediately, none of the rest of the games mattered. It mattered for the rest of the teams, but for the TSM, it didn't matter anymore. And then, same thing happened in Group D. After the first 2 games happened, actually, technically, after the first game happened, the group was just decided, right? If FlyQuest winning against Top Esports was literally meaningless because Top Esports still got first seed.
Yeah.
So I think the format 100% needs change just so every game is meaningful, and it's just it has to, because we want this we want Worlds to mean something. We want our genre to have longevity. If you have games that don't matter, your viewership's going to drop, momentum's going to drop, and fans of North America are just going to dip, right? Like, North American fans, I bet you,
probably aren't gonna
viewership
watch.
dropped for the last couple of games after that. Some people might not, FlyQuest fans might have not even seen FlyQuest beat Top Esports because it didn't matter. It was a pointless game. And you get people saying, did FlyQuest actually beat Top Esports? Because it was a meaningless game. Both teams knew they were fighting for nothing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Did FlyQuest actually beat Top Esports?
Yeah.
And you don't want questions like that to float around. You want people to say, yes, FlyQuest upset the #1 seed for LPL, but you can't really. I can't even. I want to. So.
Yeah, I feel like either way you change it, I think would have to add time and days into the length of the World's tournament, which I don't know if that's feasible with how the schedules work for everyone's regions, like seasons and playoffs and all of that. But obviously, like, I know for all of us, I would like to see more games, especially meaningful ones, but also like variety of games. Like, it was cool again, but it's so much RNG with the group draws that you're just like, oh man, like, I hope, we don't get in a crappy, draw and all of this stuff. Like, I almost feel like I wish that every team could just do a single round robin, best top whatever, play a little playoffs or whatever and get into group stage. Like, I don't know how it would work, but a little bit of a mix where every team gets to play everyone. So we get that variety, even if it's just a best of one, and then some kind of mini knockout to see who goes into the group stage, whoever has the best records or whatever like that. Again, I'm just shooting off the top of my hip, but I would like that. I would like a mix of variety, and then make every game count for something. So I don't know. What do you think, Kevin, Alistair?
Every game should count.
I agree.
At least, obviously, like, there's going to be a point in any bracket tournament like this where, like, okay, well, it's last place versus second to last place. They don't matter, right? And that will happen. But, like, it is weird that, like, we beat the best team in the world, potentially, or the top 2, right? And we have question marks. Like, instead of celebrating, we're like, whatever. I don't know what format fixes that. I know we had talks about some in the chat before, so maybe Mitchell can champion that. But, like, honestly, I'm like watching this and I'm just like, how did we get here? Because we've been doing this format forever, and honestly, in the past it's been so, but I think this year, like, the teams that are at the top are just so much better. Compared to, like, any time I've seen since like 2014 maybe, where I'm just like, well, yeah, what can you do? We just got stomped. Like, there was such a huge dichotomy between the good teams and the bad teams.
Yeah. Okay. Alistair, what about you?
Nothing else really. I mean,
Okay.
I think now that I agree that now that there's just there's a huge gap between different teams, that it is more common for games not to matter. When earlier on, when it was closer for the most part, then it didn't happen as much.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, go ahead.
We're having a lot more upsets, like, back in the day. Like, what happened to, like, Elvis Knox and Boom and all these crazy upsets that we saw, Cloud9. We just didn't have that this year, and we didn't have that last year either. So,
that's true.
Yeah, it's been 2 years now in a row of no upsets.
I also think it's sad that we didn't have Vietnam as well in here. I think that
Vietnam's a big upsetter. Yeah, Gigabyte Marines.
Yep.
Woof, Flash Wolves. Yeah.
I think we would have seen some good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kevin mentions a potential format, and it's essentially just making everything a knockout bracket, right? So instead of having groups at all, you could have groups, but instead of playing best of twos, you have like a best of three knockout situation. So you don't have it so like, okay, whoever has the best score gets out, but you base it on series. So you have four, like let's say you have 6, and then this would like require like basically cutting a lot of time away from the play-ins teams, because we spent like over a week on play-in games, right?
Yeah, it was long.
And I do like play-ins, but I don't nearly want to see play-in teams play as much as I want to see the best teams play.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I go to Worlds to see the best teams play, and we spend, you know, Worlds last for about a month, right? We spent about 1/5, 1/4 of it on play-ins, and I think we can kind of reduce that time. As where you have like 24 teams still, just like we normally do, but you'd have 6 groups of 4, and in those 4, and in each group, the 4 teams, they play best ofs against each other. So you can have like 2 teams play each other, 2 teams play each other. It's just like playoffs. You if you lose 2 best of 3s or best of 5s or whatever you want to do, you're out. And if you win 2 best of 2s, or it could be like you get top 3, then you go on to another round of top 16 and you do it again.
Yeah.
That's what StarCraft does. So you go round of 24, top 3 of each groups make it, then you go to round of 16, and then you go back to bracket stage, and it's same as normal.
Yeah.
But that would make it so that every single game matters. It would make it way more hype. It would be, we would get rid of best of ones, which are kind of archaic in my opinion.
It is. Yeah.
And we would still give play-in teams a chance, but we wouldn't dwell on the play-in teams so much as we did this year.
Definitely.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like all of those suggestions. Again, you know, it's all conjecture because we'll have to see what Riot even does. But speaking about Riot, let's pause before we get to predictions, because we're gonna rag on Riot a little bit more because as you guys know, if you're listening, they put out a new champion who had a lot of build up, a lot of hype. And it's Seraphine, who we're now seeing the abilities, the reveal, and let's just say all of Reddit's front page is basically people who are upset with this champion because it basically looks like Sona 2.0. A lot of people are just harping at like the lack of creativity, the lack of uniqueness, even the ultimate skin. You know, people are saying it's a straight up money, trying to make it a money maker, and so. Real quickly, like, you know, because it was such a big thing, what do you guys think of the Sona 2.0, aka Seraphine?
If you want me to be honest, now this is probably different from the rest of you because I put TSM in 4th. I think Seraphine's a bigger letdown.
That's funny.
Yeah, so your expectations of TSM were already on the money. So now your expectation actually, that makes sense. I agree.
I mean, I expect they were putting as much work into this. They were putting in like Jinx or Jhin, and they just released a champion that pretty much already exists in the game.
No clue.
She doesn't fit in at all, really. She doesn't make sense. She's been teased for, 6 months now. She has a YouTube channel with covers. She has an Instagram, a Twitter. And then it's uninspired. And I feel like that's the case with a lot of champions, especially this year. I feel like Lilia's kind of boring. Yone is just another edgy assassin. Seraphine doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I agree. Mitchell, what were you about to say? I see you about to say something.
I mean, you listed all the champions that I was thinking of. Lilia has so many reused mechanics. Her Q, we've seen it a bunch of times. Darius, Hecarim.
Yep.
Her sleep is Zoe sleep. I don't know. She's a horse.
She's a horse.
Yone, I mean, Yone is like Yasuo's brother, which is really cool, but like the double crit thing, like the Q with the knockup, it's like it's so similar. His Q is just basically Yasuo Q, EQ. Yeah. Like Samira is basically like half of her kit is just reused, looks differently. W's a wind wall, her Q is Ezreal Q, her E is just a normal dash, her ulti is Katarina ult. I don't know, man. And then you come out with Sona 2.0, and it's worse than the other ones because, like, half of her abilities are actually just Sona's abilities.
Yeah, they're actually the same.
Is the same ability.
Yep.
Like, W is the same exact ability. Her ulti is almost the same ability. It's got some bonus if you hit multiple people, it's a bit better than Sona ult, right?
Yeah.
Her Q is just like it's AOE Sona Q. I don't know, man.
It's really the same. Like I'm like
I've been looking at Seraphine tweets and how she has a personality and she has social anxiety and she's afraid of her KDA debut. And I'm like, yeah, you should have been nervous and afraid because you're a freaking fraud. Like,
yeah, you faker.
you're a disappointment. Can you imagine like spending millions of dollars paying people to come up with this like personality,
It
her
makes no sense.
KDA covers, her all of this stuff to come out with the most boring kit? Like it's like they thought of the gameplay after they thought of the idea. We're going to go all out on KDA. We're going to rehash 2018, our best year ever.
Yeah.
And then they just like, oh, guys, we need to give her abilities. What do we do? Like,
Yeah,
I just forgot.
And this is where I keep going back to, like, I mentioned this a while back, and you guys mentioned the argument for why Riot has to keep coming out with champions, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm at the point, like, if you can't create a unique champion and you're constantly rehashing same old stuff, then don't put out a new champion. Rework old ones. I don't know. Like, so I read a thing where somebody was predicting that Sona's probably going to get reworked because something similar happened with Graves and Lucian, where, you know, they played similarly. They had dashes and, you know, what they kind of were similar style marksmen. So they reworked Graves to kind of have a reload mechanic and all these other things. And so now people are like, well, now basically, since Seraphine's a upgraded Sona, now we're going to have to rework Sona somehow. That was just a prediction.
It's the most backwards thing ever. You release
no
a champion.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And go ahead, Alistair.
I don't know. I just feel like after 150, they should have just stopped.
Yeah.
Like, there was
a nice
just
number.
no reason to
There's no
go on.
reason.
Like,
There's no reason.
rework Udyr.
Exactly.
Rework Sona.
How many champions are there that get like
Rework
no
Uni.
play because they're just outdated and need to be updated? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. And one person even, I love this post because I'm a support main. I do like playing a lot of enchanters, easy champs that just kind of sit in the background.
Yumi player.
Yumi player. You know, hey man, don't hate the boomer because I love that champ and all I got to do is just hide in somebody else. But it's true that like this person was just, you know, making the fact that all the enchanters are exactly the same. They look the same. They're all girls. They kind of have colorful, you know, color palettes. And he's like, you know, why couldn't they be a little more unique? And he kind of mentioned like, you know, having like a frost support type, you know, champion. Like Braum is kind of like that, right? But you could have like, you know, different. And he was pulling like stuff from all this lore that really just sounded intriguing. Like, yeah, you could make stuff come from these different, you know, areas of the world in the League of Legends lore and have different thematics for it. But all the enchanters / healers supports are all the same. You know, some are better than others at certain points, but they essentially are all the same. So I agree with what is the champion design team doing?
Dude, that was one dude on Reddit. One dude. What is the entire team doing?
What is the entire team doing?
I read that post. It was good.
It was good.
I do agree with you, but at the same time, they are kind of playing to their to that demographic, right? A lot of roles are like that, right? You get assassins; they tend to be the narcissistic or edgy kind of thing. You've got these you got supports who are super colorful, happy-go-lucky. Like that's just kind of that's why they keep making champions in that demographic, because that's what those people like to play, kind of thing.
Yeah, again, like I'll say, like, you know, for me, like I think a really good,
cool.
I mean, I think a really good example of like how they kind of broke the mold is when they brought out Pike. Yeah, he had some similar abilities, but his playstyle is completely different as a support. You know, he's an assassin. Like, that's what he wants to do. And, you know, and it doesn't even punish you for taking the kills. Like, to me, like, even though some of his abilities are similar, like a hook or whatever, that kind of thematic / unique play style is interesting to me, and I feel like they could even diversify the categories of types of supports. And in this case, I'm referring to healers and enchanters.
I mean,
but
you can only do so many things with enchanters. Is also the
I
thing.
disagree.
Right? Like,
I disagree too. But
well,
go ahead.
An enchanter is someone who buffs you up. You can only do so much. You can't add in a jinx ult to an enchanter, really.
I mean, it's
You
not
can-
Jigsaw, but you can
it doesn't
enchant
have to
peoples
all-
in
I'm not-
different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. See, but that's what I'm saying. It has to do with enchanting. I'm not saying it has to be the same thing. I'm not saying every enchanter has to have a shield or a heal or an auto attack steroid. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's a limit of what they can do, and I'm not saying they've reached that.
Yeah, I don't think
But-
they've gotten even close.
Yeah.
Like, I think.
No,
But
they
that's
haven't.
that's what we're
They haven't.
complaining about, though. You're like, you would think
Yeah. No,
they would have
what I
something
mean
better.
What I mean is, I think they've changed it somewhat, but they should do it more. Is
Yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of what I'm
that-
trying to say.
Yeah. That's
for
exactly
sure.
what we're saying too. I think they
Yeah.
should change it more. Like, there's I think it's in Overwatch or what's the shooting game that we have?
Rainbow Six.
Valorant.
Valorant.
Valorant. Yeah, I was thinking of Valorant, the league shooting game.
Rainbow
Like-
Six.
Like having like
I heard shooting game.
Yeah.
yeah, having like a skill shot that can enchant your like so many of our enchanting mages and stuff, they click you. That's
Yeah.
it. Like what about a
Wait,
skill
yeah.
shot?
They're kind of skill.
Seraphine does have skill shots.
Yeah, but a skill shot
Yeah.
that's like meant for like I don't know. Like you could have so many unique types of skill shots or abilities that can enchant your team, right? But there's so many of like Sena, you just click in a line, right? That's technically a skill shot. You have to
Mhm.
click
It's Lucian Q.
and aim
Sort of,
people.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
It's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, and like there are not a lot of like what if you had like I don't know some skill shot that had a unique angle or unique interaction where if it hits your teammates it buffs them, hits your opponent it slows them. I mean I'm sure there's stuff like that in other games that we could steal.
That's what her ult does. Her ult is a buff for her teammates if it hits her teammates, and it stuns / charms / slows or whatever if it's an enemy, and it also gives them her passive. Her
Okay.
E has a different interaction based on how many characters it hits. It either slows them if it hits them. If they're already slowed, they become rooted. And if they're already rooted, it becomes stunned. It's a conditional skill shot. Seems pretty interesting to me. Like as far as I'm concerned, so I haven't spoken up about this yet because I just wanted to hear the general point of views and what I saw on Reddit as well. Like as far as I'm concerned, like I think there's a very strong like knee-jerk reaction to this. Like, do we want a unique projectile like Yumi? Because that shit's cancer. Like we have Diana with her arc.
Not
We have
cancer.
Yumi.
Just kidding.
Shut up.
We had Yumi do more damage than every character on the team because she could just throw a projectile. You could never die. Like, there's only, and I agree, there are things you could do, like at the end of the day. But like, I've played the other games that try to add unique features and stuff like that all the time. I played Overwatch. Do you know what Brigitte feels like to play against? She's super unique. I hate her. Do you know what Moira's like to play against? She's super unique. I hate her. Like, the reason why this game continues to make characters like this, and I don't necessarily agree from like diversity of character design and all that point of view, but I agree from the point of view of like this is what people want. Like if you let players tell you what you want in a game, in my opinion, that you get Overwatch, some bullshit game where it's no longer about your hit scan ability, it's about the ability to like tank up and heal up and be consistent. Like that's everyone was asking for, not everyone, but a majority of the community was asking for stuff like that when they were playing Overwatch, and it made that game garbage. Like it's actual hot trash to play right now. And you look at Pyke, he's got 4 skins. How many of his skins sell well? Like how many, do you know what skins he has? He has Sandwraith, like Psyops. I think he got a new Psyops skin.
Yeah,
no one talked
Psyops.
about that shit. No one
Blood
gives a
Moon.
shit to
Psyops,
that.
Blood Moon,
And Blood Moon's
Projects.
pretty cool actually.
I like
But no
Blood
one
Moon.
talks about that shit. Pyke is the 23rd out of 34th most played support right now. No girl I know plays Pyke. And I'm
it's
saying
Weebs. Weebs ruined League, guys.
that
I'm
Weeb's
saying
ruined
right.
League. But if they fun League, then you're playing a Weeb game. Like welcome
Yeah,
to the
it's true.
welcome to the game. Like
It has become
I
that.
play with a probably above average amount of girls on a very frequent basis. Like sometimes my lobbies are like 3 out of 5 people are girls. And I will say, and like this is definitely stereotyping, so I want to caveat that. Like I've asked them like, would you rather have like more champ diversity like designs and stuff? They're like, I mean, I think as a concept that's nice is generally the answer I get, but they would not play them. Like legitimately, I have friends who only own like the cute female characters because they like how they look. I'm like, so if Urgot was the best support in the game, would you play him? Like, no, he's ugly. And I'm like, well, fair enough.
It's so sad. He's so
But
cool.
I mean, it's just POVs, right? And like, obviously, I'm taking like a few sample sizes. It's a very small sample size. But like, I bet you that they over there at that team, they're thinking, I mean, every time we release like this super cool edgy character, no one really
Nobody plays it,
them.
yeah.
Like Yone, I haven't seen Yone. I mean, partially because his kit's super not inspiring for me to play. But, like, no one's playing. Not even the edgelords are playing him, and they're like, well, okay. I guess we'll have to continue to make things that are a little less edgy,
Yeah.
a little less like stupid. I will say this: I think that Riot's skin team and their concept team, the storytelling team, is an A plus. It's like an A plus elite team, and I think that the balance and the champ kit design team is like, it's like the B squad. Like,
Yeah.
Seraphine could have been huge. Like, they had the story building, the socials, the hype build, and then the kit people were like, what do we do with this one? Like, I think the E is interesting. I think the ult is interesting. I think it's a little overblown.
I mean, again,
but I think that. Oh, sorry, what?
No, I'm just saying, like, you're making a good point, and I don't mean to cut you off, but like, really, you said, yeah, it is slightly unique, right? But it's almost as if like they could, like, they just, again, Sona 2.0, like it just is a better version of Sona, like, you know.
You can't take it all from Sona's kit. That's the biggest thing that I agree with you guys on. Like, it's just weird that 3 of the spells map in terms of their intent, at least 3 of the spells, if not 4, map exactly to the intent of Sona's kit, even if they interact differently. You can definitely take parts of other people's kits.
Sure.
Every character in this game, past the 100th champion, has definitely borrowed at least 2 of their spells, if not 3 of them, from somebody else in the game and just like improved upon them. That's okay. I mean, it's just that it's uninspired to take it from Sona.
Yeah.
Well, it's just all of them are from Sona.
I personally don't see an issue with rehashing abilities from other champions, but they have to be from different champions, right? Samira, with the exception of her passive, all of her abilities are just tweaks of previous, of different champions, but because they're from different champions, she's a completely different playstyle.
Yeah.
And that's why I think she was. I have a lot of fun playing her. Obviously, she's pretty strong, but
a little bit.
Either way, I still enjoy playing Aphelios, for example, even when though he's not very good right now, most of his skills, with the exception of his chakrams, are rehashes. He has a slow and a root. He has Caitlyn range, but there's
different guns.
Because he has a bunch of stuff that are from different champions. You have to play differently, and that's what I think they need to do. Because again, there's only so many things you can do, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I like champs like, for example, like Echo, like the whole time winder thing, you know, they have the Zillion, you know, do that too, but, you know, just the fact that he can kind of rewind time, or, you know, Zach with his blobs and how the blobs actually make him heal, and then, you know, he could stick to people, and like, to me, that's really fun. Like,
makes weird noises.
Makes weird noises. Whatever, you know, like. So anyways, those are just what I'm thinking of. Like, I wish there were more champions like that, where you're just like, oh man, I could really get into this kind of champ. Again, whatever data they're seeing, you know, I'm pretty sure the higher ups are like, nope, that sounds cool, but this is going to be what either makes most money or keeps the most players playing. And so they're probably working off of data, you know, that they see will be the most profitable for the company. So we'll leave it at that, but we could still.
Before we leave it at that, I want to ask a question. Do you think Riot will change Seraphine's kit now that it has such a bad reception?
No.
I think we're the vocal
it'll cost too
minority.
much.
Yeah, I think
we didn't even touch on the ultimate skin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to.
Just
know
that
it's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah. Just know that it's
gonna get into some money stuff, and you know, let's just talk about predictions.
Yeah, but yeah, I will say though that, like you said, they won't change her skills. I think, like I said earlier, I think they'll probably just rework Sona, because Sona is just, to me, more, you know, inferior now. I don't know.
Because I mean, Kevin brought up. We're supposed to move on, but Kevin brought up that like her E and her ulti are unique and stuff. Yeah. But I do think like her E is conditional and is unique and stuff. But it is like what Sona's E is kind of. It's like the CC one, right? When she gets her auto attack up, it's the slow and damage reduced one, and it's like. That's literally what her E is. It's the CC one. It's her CC empowered ability. Her ulti, Yeah, it buffs people too, and it has additional effects if you hit multiple people with their ult. But it's just Sona ult, but better. So I don't know. I think they could have, as Alistair was saying, they could have rehashed other parts from other champions kits and would have made it more interesting. Like, don't give her Karma Q that's basically Sona Q but AoE, right?
Yeah.
You know, don't give her Sona W.
I mean, I'll just say that if she's as easy to play as Yumi, then sign me up. That's all I'm going to say.
She's gonna be easy to play. Trust me.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, we all grew to love Lucian. Even he literally stole Graves' spot in the game. Like, I like Graves a lot back in the day, 80 carry Graves, and I played him all the time. And like, sometimes you just do need the rehash of the character that's more interesting than rework the other one. Right?
I think, but Lucian was
I wish
special,
it was the
though.
other way around, but
yeah.
What's up?
I think Lucian was special because his auto attack is like his passive auto attack is very unique. Like that's something no other champion has. So
Sure,
like
but no other
is...
champion has conditional. If you're already CC by your teammate, you do something differently. No champion has that in the game.
Yeah, Samira. Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about
Samira's passive.
Oh yeah, the passive.
Samira, okay. Maybe then Samira has it. I actually don't know how Samira works. I just
Samira's passive. If someone is CC'd, she CCs them again. She knocks them up and dashes to them.
Okay, so they did it back to back. That's weird.
Yeah,
but I mean, you can still have different conditionals, and they may just like that concept, like more coordination with teammates, less solo YOLO. But I mean,
I think
there was Aurelia's old E was conditional as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, there wasn't conditional on the opponent, like on your teammates though. Like it was conditional by
if he's lower or not, which you have 100% control of, like when you use it based on that condition, right?
I also think like visually, the problem that most people I think with their knee-jerk reaction is visually Seraphine looks very similar to Sona.
Yeah.
Even if the kit could have a lot of nuance and stuff, visually her ult and her W look almost exactly the same. And then you hear how her passive works. Every 3 spells, something different happens. That's just Sona's passive too. So
and she flies around.
Yeah, and she flies around, and she's music based, right?
Yeah.
She charms people instead of makes them dance. Yeah, we're supposed to move on. There's so much to talk about.
I didn't know this would be a major topic. I didn't look into it because I don't care about characters I don't play and roles I don't play.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's gonna be a jungler.
That's
just watch.
She'll be a jungler, and then Kevin will talk about it. All right, let's move on.
Speaking of Seraphine, I'm gonna simp her now.
3 million points from Seraphine.
All right, let's move on. Predictions. This is it. Let's talk about it. Let's just go right down the line. Let's start off with DWG and DRX. So Damwon, Dragon X. I mean,
this is the easiest prediction anyone could ever make. LCK finals. It's gonna be DRX. No, I'm just kidding.
Are we going like the score, or are we just saying who wins?
You can say the score.
I think we should do score. Makes more hype.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going 3-0 Damwon.
Wow. I'm going 3-1. I think DRX will get one.
Oh, hold up. I need to get the coin. Coin's making an appearance.
Yes, the coin.
So as he gets the coin, it's 3-1 Damwon for me. They did just smash him in the finals, but Damwon internationally, I haven't seen him in knockout. I haven't seen him in best of 5. Some teams just are not that good in best of 5 internationally. I mean, I don't know about NA teams because we don't usually make it there, but some teams just like that.
We've never seen DRX in best of 5 either.
We have seen a lot of those players though. Deft,
we've seen
Chovy,
4 of the 5 in Damwon too, though. So I mean,
have we? Oh, they got smashed. You're right. Okay, we have seen them. So
they also played MSC.
They lost to G2, right?
Yeah, they lost to G2,
and they lost to. They didn't make it to best of 5 in MSC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They only Gen G made it out, and they got destroyed by TS 3-0. So yeah, I mean, we saw Damwon last year, same time, lost to G2 Gaming 3-1, I think it was. So I think that Damwon still was good last year. They just could not get their stuff together. I don't know if they will this year, but I'll give the veterans on Dragon X the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they can actually pull something together. Honestly, I'm not basing off anything though. They should be.
Yeah, we're literally arguing 3-0 versus 3-1 right now. So.
Yeah.
Mitchell, did you say 3-0?
I said 3-0.
Okay, 3-0.
Yeah.
I mean, Damwon is playing really good. I mean, it's just they're looking great on all cylinders. So it's hard to argue.
Like their one game they lost, they were playing pretty poorly, and they still almost beat. And it was JDG. It's not like they're playing poorly against. like a bad team.
Yep.
Like they almost won that game against JDG. If it wasn't, and they're playing a very experimental, weird comp, like set top after all those nerfs and Galio mid and stuff. I mean, Galio mid's not experimental, but Showmaker did not look good at Galio.
Yeah. All right, Alistair, what is your prediction and what is the coin's prediction?
All right, I'm with Kevin. I'm going 3-1.
Too much
For the same reason that I said. For the same reason that I said top Esports would randomly lose a game to FlyQuest, that I think they're just going to randomly lose a game.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to 3-0. And the coin is actually 3-2 DRX.
Let's go!
Oh gosh. Oh, coin, you're so silly.
I think that would be just one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. If
I agree
for sure.
Because right now, I mean, Damwon was a favorite already, and so far they haven't disappointed. So they're looking like they're right on their way to be in the finals at least. So okay, let's move on to Suning versus JDG. I think this is kind of close. What do you guys think?
I think this is close. So the interesting thing about this series is that Suning and JDG didn't play in their playoffs, in their regional playoffs. So Suning got 3-0'd by Top Esports and dodged JDG. So, by power rankings or tiers, you'd say JDG is above Suning because they were in the finals. But we've never actually seen them match up. And it's pretty clear how important stylistically teams match up against each other rather than just straight up power level. Because we've seen G2 destroy every single Korean team and never beat an LPL team. For the first time this year, they beat an LPL team. So, and we've seen Korean teams beat those exact same LPL teams. So it's more of rock, paper, scissors than straight up this team's better than this one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like Suning. I really like Bin and SESOFM. I think it's an upset. I'm voting for an upset here, so I'm gonna go Suning 3-2.
Okay.
Because I just love their team.
I do like that. I do like their team. I think that I'm just gonna go the same number, but I'm gonna go JDG's way. I think it'll be close, and again, because we haven't seen, I think it'll be close for that reason. And I think both teams are really good, so it's hard to tell. I think just slightly based off what I saw visually, I'm just gonna give a slight edge to JDG. But Kevin, what do you got?
So I watched a lot of LPL. I mean, it wasn't that close during the regular season, but honestly, C9 was good at the regular season for a long time too, in the playoffs, and second half they weren't great. I think Suning just looks like a much better team in terms of how they've shown up so far this world. But unfortunately, JDG was starting to ramp up a bit toward the end. Like, yes, they beat Damwon when Damwon was like pretty much inting, and they barely did it, but they did still do it. Like, Damwon is not the same beast as G2 and Liquid, unfortunately, So I'm giving them a 3-2, also in JDG's favor. But I really do like Suning. I would rather SOFM get further because he is so hilarious to watch him play League of Legends. And him and Bin, they could give less of a crap about the rules.
That's
100% crit, 100% crit. GP flank TP. Everyone in my chat's like, we're like in a call, we're like, what is he doing? And then he just destroys.
He's a man, Kevin.
He's flashing in there.
This is why I feel like I don't want to get too far off on a tangent again, but just going stylistically and why you gotta love watching some of these other regions because they do stuff like that, and it's like they don't give a fuck. Like
they would never do that
because I feel like if an NA person tried that and failed one time, they would get flamed, and then they'd be so scared to try it again.
I mean, Chinese fans are crazy animals. Chinese fans are toxic, ridiculous psychopaths.
Yeah.
Yet Bin was like, I don't care.
Yep. I was gonna say us and TSM fans. Chinese fans and TSM fans are on the same page.
Yeah, like I mean, Korean fans. Did you hear what happened to Peanut?
Oh my god.
Like, there was some terrible stuff that happened to Peanut, and it's like he's an LPL. He's a Korean player in the LPL. Yeah. He's got LPL fans trying to kill him and stuff, and it's like Bin doesn't care. Bin It doesn't
Speaking
care at all.
of, Tarzan's going to LPL too. In other news, but
Dude, I hate it.
I know,
Stop.
it's
Go to
crazy.
NA.
I know. They know better.
NA needs to
They
feel
know
the
better.
team that wants him to come. You know,
Yeah,
we just
yeah.
need one team to entice him.
It's not about the team. It's called $5 million. Okay, it's called take my money.
And that's actually an import.
How much did we spend on Vulcan? How much did we spend on Huni? I think we could spend on a Tarzan level.
Exactly.
Dude, Tarzan and 4 randos. I could probably win
Literally,
NA.
cut their salaries. You're like, but you get to play with Tarzan. Like, oh, okay.
Oh shit,
Dude, Tarzan
You got me.
Tarzan instead of Broxa. Ooh.
Yeah, that would be
Be on a team
insane.
with Tarzan.
Because
Let's go.
because Core speaks Korean, right? So does Tactical, right?
And
Course,
Impact, I don't.
it's Korean, of course.
I
Tactical
don't
speaks a little
know.
bit. I think is.
Impact speaks Korean.
All right. Well, it's not gonna happen, but I'm just
We
saying.
switch
that would
out
be
Jensen
awesome.
for Po Belter. Everybody speaks Korean. Let's
Oh,
get a Korean
hell
team in there.
I'm ready for that. I'm so ready for that team.
Bring Crown back. Yeah.
Someone
No.
brought up the topic of should I was reading on Reddit. Someone brought up the topic a while ago about like should we just get rid of the import rule for NA because we cannot compete. Like
No.
they were arguing.
I don't want to because I don't want it to turn into like what happened with StarCraft, where basically all like Korean players moved to NA, and so all of our NA representatives were like Koreans, who, which
Do we want
again,
another LMQ.
yeah, exactly. Like I want NA
LMQ was
teams-
hilarious.
LMQ was a funny
LMQ was
team,
really
though.
awesome, but and I
They were
felt
such
like.
memers.
But I also felt like NA embraced them like our own. Like that was a team
Yeah.
we were like. But it's because the whole scene isn't imports. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
one team.
True, true.
Like
'Cause they were
I want our region, as bad as they are, I want them to be like us. I don't want them to be So anyway,
I mean,
but that's a good
Tactical Spica. Tactical was maybe our best player at Worlds. No
That's right.
joke. Spica, like Tactical Core JJ was easily their best bot lane.
Yep.
Spica was the best player on TSM.
Yep.
You know,
No, I agree.
Solo was there.
For the record, I definitely agree that we shouldn't have no import. I was just curious how you guys thought about it.
Yeah. No, I want to
I watched
see
StarCraft and I was like, I was so
tons
sick
of
of
rookies.
our NA representative being another Korean player who just
Yeah.
decided to be there. Like,
Exactly.
I'm like, okay.
Exactly.
I-
Yep.
I'll say one thing before I actually say my prediction. I think that people already complain about NA solo queue. Imagine how bad it would be if all the top tier players just stopped caring because they wouldn't get it. They wouldn't.
Yeah,
have a
they
chance for
wouldn't make a
spot
team.
because they just get imported from Korea.
I know.
Yeah,
There'd be no point.
Yeah.
No one
Yeah.
would care, and NA would actually just die.
I agree.
True. But it would
Unless
also make
we
our solo
import-
queue better.
Yeah, unless we imported
wouldn't-
a ton of Korean and Chinese players, and they were at the top of the ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we just have Korean ladder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Alistair,
So
give us your.
anyways, I'm 3-1 JDG.
Okay.
Mainly because I actually didn't think that Suning looked that great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
they kind of inty.
especially Angel and who's the AD carry again?
Huanfeng?
Huanfen?
Oh yeah, one.
Huanfeng.
Yes, Huanfeng. I feel like they in the games against G2 they just looked super bad.
But they had to match G2 though, because they were
Yeah.
playing even worse.
I'm talking mechanically. I'm
Yeah.
talking mechanically. It just looked bad.
Okay. I mean, I agree with the angel
So I'm
part.
going.
Yeah.
I'm going 3-1 JDG, and the coin is 3-2. It was 3-2 JDG.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
JDG.
coin
wow,
is
I-
kind
look
of.
at that.
Tails.
I agree with you, Alistair, but I also think JDG didn't look that good either. Because even though
That's true.
they did beat Damon in that one game, but it was close, and there's a lot of mistakes on JDG side. They took a while to ramp up, and they lost to PSG Talon, just like Suning lost to Team Liquid. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. I don't think either teams are spectacular
Yeah.
right now. It's
Good
just best
point.
of five is gonna be a different beast. So
Yep.
yeah.
All right, let's go to Top Esports against Fnatic. I'll start off and say Top Esports 3-1. I like Fnatic. I think they've been playing great. I just think Top Esports is freaking good.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like I honestly,
100%.
yeah, I just think Top Esports is just on another level. That's just no other way to put it.
I think Top Esports is really good, but something I noticed, and I don't know if this will go into the best of 5 series, but they had some really bad drafts, and they almost always fell behind in the early game. It was very weird. They were behind in the early game against DRX like twice in both of their games, and then they came back and won. They were behind in the early game very briefly in one game against FlyQuest, and then just the entire game in the other against FlyQuest.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Top Esports is a weird team. It feels like they have worse drafts and a worse early game, but then their mid and late game and their mechanics are just way better than everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like they should be the best team, but they have very clear weaknesses and exploits. If you can balloon the early game advantage and have and execute on your draft much better and not fall behind in lane randomly or not get outplayed randomly. Because like when you look at that last game against DRX, it was completely even, like no kills, except DRX had a 2K gold advantage because of better laning, better macro, better turret plates. Yeah. They just got wrecked by a freaking random ass shockwave, right? And that's just straight up, Knight outplaying them. And
I will say that now they've had more time to see how the teams play.
Yeah.
And so, that's again, more preparation can be made, I guess, because you've seen them now.
I have, with that said, I agree. That point works just as well for Fnatic. I think Fnatic is like really good at planning. It's actually their execution of the planning that fails them. Like, it's usually Nemesis who fails to execute in the mid lane for them. Because they had really good plans in all of their best of ones. They had really good plans against G2 in the finals and in their other best of 5 where they actually won it. And I really felt like it was execution from their mid laner that faltered.
Yeah.
But dude, I kind of want to say Fnatic, man. I really do. I actually think when I look at how they play, I think Fnatic is the better team that just has worse mechanics. I think they have better drafts. I think they have better planned out early games. They just don't have the mechanics. So, yeah, I'm going to say Fnatic 3-2.
Snap.
All right. Well, Mitchell, the coin backs you. It's going 3-1 Fnatic.
Let's go!
But
Let's go.
My prediction, I'm doing it. I'm just going to say this just for the memes. I'm going to say 3-0 Top Esports, EU versus LPL XD.
Yep. Okay. So you're going the same as 2019, basically. Fnatic plays the winner of the World Championship in quarterfinals, and G2 dunks all the Korean teams to get to finals. Basically what you're saying. 2019 again.
Yeah.
Rehash of the script. The rehashing champion kips and the rehashing world scripts. XD.
That's right.
Right, getting lazy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 3-1 Fnatic. I do agree with Mitchell's point that they do plan well. They plan well, and although Nemesis is probably gonna get his base kicked in by Knight, like they're probably still gonna get a game off. Like some maybe will just get huge off of a random level 1 invade. Like the volatility of this meta because of level 1 invades is just like very hard to understate. I will say that they went 3-1 last year, right? They went 3-1 against FPX, and I thought FPX was just such a holistically better team too. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But
so you're saying 3-1 top, not 3-1 Fnatic?
Top, yes. 3-1.
Okay, you said 3-1 Fnatic.
You said Fnatic. I was like, what?
Why are y'all reacting like that? It's a pretty basic.
I was like, what? Okay,
no,
all right.
Top is gonna smash them. Like, it's
Okay.
gonna be like, Knight's not even that good as he's down
Back
like
to
100 CS.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm glad we clarified that.
Dumpster Nemesis.
Knight will dumpster Nemesis, and I mean Nemesis didn't even look good against the mid laners in his group. So I don't know.
Okay. All right. Last one is Gen G versus G2.
Dude, I know everyone's saying G2, right?
I'm saying G2,
Everyone on Twitter and Reddit saying G2, right? Damn, dude, did G2 look bad in their group, though?
They did. You're right. I'm saying G2 for sure.
I'm going 3-2 though, so it's like a barely they win.
Maybe it's partially because I want G2 to win. I just want them to be interesting, or else half the bracket I'm just going.
Yeah. I think that's the general sentiment of how people are voting on Twitter and Reddit and analysts on the broadcast. They want G2 to win because they're such an exciting team.
If you're based it off of like real skill and power, I think Gen G is favored.
I do think Gen G looks better in this tournament, but there is a thing where G2, they do ramp up in best of series versus best of ones. Their best of one series have always been shaky. They always throw, they always int random games. In best of fives, they get chances to int randomly, right? Sometimes they go too far and they lose the series, but usually not when it matters. They either are outskilled completely or they win. Yeah, I think I am going G2 3-1.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 3. I think they'll improve, but it's like on the caveat that they substantially improve in their best of series, and they're going against a Korean team, so Korean buff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That makes sense. Kevin,
But
did you still think G2?
Yes, I still think G2. I'm gonna put G2 3-2. I mean, yeah, there's the Korean buff and everything, but last year the Korean buff was part and partial because G2 played smart, had really cool picks and stuff that Koreans couldn't do. So that's why it's a relative buff to them, right? This year, not so much. But Genji didn't look that great either. I mean, Genji almost lost to TSM, and that match definitely mattered. Like the fact that you almost lost to TSM is a huge hit in my mind. But I think G2 should win, but it's very close. This is the closest quarterfinals for me.
So sad that TSM
sure.
is the barometer of how sucky a team is.
Did you watch what they were
That's
losing
realistic,
to?
though.
No,
God.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say it wasn't true. I just said it sucks. It's sad that's
true.
the barometer. All right, Alistair, give us your thoughts and the coin's thoughts. The coin's thoughts.
I'll get the coin out of the way. Coin is 3-1 Genji.
Oh,
Wow.
let's go. Let's go. Korea finals.
All right.
I'm gonna go 3-2 Genji.
Ooh.
Mainly because I feel like there isn't anything too spicy that G2 could really take out unless they bring out the Shen jungle, but that's not even that. So I feel like a lot of the time, not most of the time, they kind of cheese out Korea with something weird. That, and honestly, I just want to vote against G2 because to me they're the Cloud9 and SKT of Europe. Where I don't have anything against them. It's the fans.
It's the fans.
They're just super pretentious to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like watching them lose for that reason.
I think G2 is really interesting because they definitely have a lot of weak spots when you compare it to Gen Z. If you look at their bot lane, Ruler and Life versus Perk and Mickey is just like night and day. Like Mickey by himself, great. Perks and Mickey, terrible for some reason. When you put them together, their lane is really bad.
Random tangent on that comparison. Sorry, Gen G stands for Generation Gamer, and G2 is Gamers too. Just stupid names all around. All I gotta say. Anyways,
Gamers too. Wow.
This is literally they're both G squared. Like they're just
G
G.
squared. Yeah.
Yeah. I also think that Yankos has been a pretty big liability so far. Not even just this year, but especially in groups. Like SOFM was absolutely jungle gapping him. All 3 games, SOFM jungle gapped him.
Yeah.
So it is a bit shaky for G2. I just have a lot of faith in G2 planning. Like that's what I give European teams always in best of series. And that's why I was hopeful for Rogue too, even though they look terribly, was they have really good plans. They study their opponents and they come up with really good drafts and, level 1s, invades, ways to find advantages, item spikes and stuff. And Korea's always been susceptible to that. If whoever has the best plan usually wins. Yeah. So I'm gonna. I think it's good. Okay, before we move on, because I want to ask something funny. What was the worst team in groups? And was it TSM?
Yes. Yeah. I don't think that was even yes.
Yes, they were the worst team in groups.
I mean,
UOL.
Yeah, maybe because the expectation of TSM is high, and so it makes it seem even worse.
Objectively, it's UOL. They never pushed anyone to close. Game.
I think if you're actually looking at skill level, it's kind of hard to not say UOL.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're looking at comparisons, everyone thought it should have been, then obviously
it's definitely TSM.
But if you put UOL in that Baron situation, do they fuck it up that badly? Like, I don't think they do.
No, but they won't get.
Okay, but the question is, does UOL get to that Baron situation?
Yeah, they were in an easier group though, right? They're playing against.
You're saying the worst series of plays you've ever witnessed in a single League of Legends game? Yes, TSM.
Yeah.
Would they trade Baron for Nexus? You think UOL wouldn't send somebody back home?
That's hurting my brain right now.
Sorry, I just took this opportunity to flame TSM. I'm not
It's
looking
like-
for real analysis, guys.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
that's fair. It's always fun to play TSM.
I'm just hoping that we get something spicy, like they remove the entire roster and just keep Spica.
It's
Keep
about
Spica.
time.
Yeah, I said it. Yeah, that's what I mean. Just keep Spica and
Spica maybe treats. Everyone else.
yeah, and get rid of the coaching
but
staff. God
They're
damn.
they're not getting rid of Bjergsen or Doublelift, guys. Sorry. Hope
They
harder, but they're not. They really aren't.
I might have to jump ship
He's a
off
part
TSM.
owner, you know. He's a
Yeah.
part owner.
I know,
That
but
was
at
when they
this
sealed the
point-
deal.
Like at this point though, I'm getting frustrated with the organization for being so freaking stubborn. You know, I'm not saying like we have all the answers, but I think the glaring, like there's like glaring obvious like problems there. And if you are measuring your success just from, I mean, first of all, you can't even say domestically they've been successful. They like won this past split, but we all know that was just a miracle run. You know, as a whole, I don't think any of us were saying that. Yeah, FlyQuest or Team Liquid could have easily just been first. Like it doesn't really make a difference.
They really could have.
They really could have.
All 3-2 incredibly close series.
Yeah. So, anyways, as a fan, I'm getting fed up. But is there anything else that y'all want to say for Worlds going into the knockouts? I'm really excited for this.
So the pick'ems predict all the way to the World Finals. Should we predict World Finals now, or should we wait till next week after the quarterfinals are done?
Let's wait till next week after the quarterfinals are done.
They
I
don't
mean, we
make you
can
lock
say
in
what they
anymore
are then,
past
but they lock
quarterfinals.
in after it. They lock in like 26 hours. So
Oh.
you have to lock them in today or tomorrow. So we can just talk about it next week, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus,
So,
we're at an hour
yeah.
and 20 minutes, so.
Okay. Well, I just want to say, do you guys remember when the TSM middle of the split stuff, all their drama and their tweets and their social media and Lena? Yeah. There's a lot of problems with TSM. They don't have a social media manager.
Ugh.
They have a dumpster organization. It's not just the gameplay. It's not just the coaching. It's top down, guys.
Speaking of the organization, did y'all happen to see that clip? I think Poe Belter was streaming, and he was duo queuing with Reggie.
Yeah.
And this was right after, and somebody in the game lobby was straight up trolling Reggie. He's like, Reggie's so mad, the only way he's coping is playing solo queue right now. And I think they left the game. They were so tilted.
What the guy said was like, imagine going 0-6 in
That's
groups
it.
and then unwinding in solo queue.
Oh no.
I mean, at this point, I think Reggie he's got much bigger things to think about at this point, I think.
I mean,
don't
he
know.
lived through blue card, right? So whatever.
Yeah, whatever. It's whatever. He's fine. Okay. Anything else, guys? You guys good? We ready for Worlds? I'm excited again. I think we covered pretty much everything. All right. Well, appreciate you guys, as always, Kevin, Mitchell, Alistair, for joining and sharing their wise insight. As always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email us at theallinpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at theallinpodcast. But until next time, guys, enjoy your games, enjoy your climb, try not to be too toxic, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.